The harsh Lenin gives an order that seals the fate of the Romanov family. Anastasia has no way to escape. She loses her life together with her loved ones inside the Ipatiev house in the Ural Mountains. This is how our sweet childhood cartoon would have ended if Anastasia had been created based on true historical events. But instead, we got a beautiful fairy tale with a Disney-style happy ending. A fairy tale? Wait a second. These are real historical figures. Rasputin, the Russian emperor and his family, even Anastasia's grandmother. In this video, I'll tell you whose idea it was to take one of the darkest and most tragic stories of the Russian crown and turn it into a gentle children's movie about a princess. We'll break down what in the film is true, what is pure myth, and why Rasputin ended up becoming the villain. Make yourselves comfortable. This is Studio 1810, and it's going to be fascinating. But don't forget to like this video and subscribe, because unlike many videos on YouTube, this one not only entertains, but also educates. Let's go! Meet this man, Don Bluth, the director and animator who dreamed of making movies the way Disney did. He decided to create a feature-length animated film about a princess, complete with songs and a love story, just like Disney. But the princess he chose was a real historical figure, Grand Duchess Anastasia Romanova, daughter of the last Russian Tsar, a rather unusual choice considering what happened to her in real life. But here's the thing. In 1995, when Bluth had this idea, the topic of the Romanovs' fate was extremely popular. Why? Because in 1991, the Soviet Union fell apart, Russia opened up to tourism, and people around the world suddenly became fascinated with pre-revolutionary Russian history. And also, in 1991, the remains of the Romanov family were examined, identified, and reburied. A major global news event. And the most intriguing part? Among the remains, 2 children were missing. But they were not Anastasia and Alexei. It was actually Maria and Alexei. Still, this was enough to revive the legend of the escaped princess. Was there really such a legend? Oh yes, but we'll get to that in a moment. Don Bluth decided to tell not the historical truth, but the legend, because the real story was far too heavy for a children's movie. But then came another problem. Who should be the villain? Lenin? Definitely not. In the mid-90s, the world still had many people who considered Lenin a positive historical figure. Using him as a villain could have caused a major scandal. But Rasputin? Perfect. No descendants, no followers, no political groups attached to him. Plus, tons of mystical stories surround his name. You simply couldn't wish for a more convenient antagonist. Now let's talk about the plot. The movie begins with Anastasia's grandmother, a real historical figure. She was the mother of the last Russian Tsar, Nicholas II, Maria Feodorovna. She truly fled the revolution with her daughters, not to Paris, but to Denmark, because she was a Danish princess. That's where she lived the rest of her life. And no, she never searched for her granddaughter. She accepted what had happened to her family. In the film, we see her and young Anastasia at a ball in St. Petersburg. This ball was real. We even have photographs of it. Then Rasputin crashes the ball. Ring any bells? Sleeping Beauty? And he curses the royal family. Anyone who knows even a little Russian history probably went, "Wait, what?" Because the real Grigory Rasputin had excellent relations with the royal family. He was a kind of spiritual guide to Empress Alexandra, Nicholas II's wife. In her letters, she even called him "my dear friend." Of course, Rasputin wasn't perfect. He enjoyed partying, drinking, and showing off his influence over high society ladies. But according to documents and letters, he was loyal to the imperial family and was never involved in plots against them. The downfall of the Romanovs was absolutely not in his interest. He even predicted, if he was removed, the whole dynasty would fall soon after, which is exactly what happened. Now let's talk about the myth of Anastasia. Why did it appear at all? During the Russian Revolution, there was no Twitter, and people who escaped abroad had almost no information about what really happened. The new government kept everything classified. There was no open trial, no official statements. People hoped that maybe one of the children could have survived, and scammers tried to use that hope. Imposters claiming to be Anastasia appeared across Europe. The most famous one, most likely Franziska Szankowska, a Polish factory worker. Here are a few surprising facts. She first claimed to be Anastasia in 1920 in Germany. She was extremely convincing and knew many details about imperial court life. She spent nearly 40 years in court trying to prove her identity, but never succeeded. Don Bluth used this woman as the prototype for his Anya. In 2007, archaeologists finally found the missing remains of the Romanov children. DNA confirmed that the entire family lost their lives near Yekaterinburg. Despite the fantasy plot, the movie does contain some interesting historical touches. For example, look at Anya's dress. Now compare it to the Romanov sisters' real ceremonial gowns. The tiara also existed in real life. Rasputin's body was indeed recovered from the river Neva in winter after an attack on him. And the drawings shown in one scene really belong to Anastasia. The photographs on the nightstand are authentic as well, and here's a detail that will break your heart. In the film, Anya has a dog. In reality, the real Anastasia also had a spaniel named Joy, who stayed with her until the very last moment. Even the dog didn't survive the tragedy. Now tell me, using such a heavy real-life story as the basis for a children's fairy tale about a princess, was that a good idea? Share your thoughts in the comments. And this is not all. There are many more fascinating details about this film. If this video reaches 10,000 likes, I'll make a part 2.